It was a cold, rainy November evening, the kind of night where the wind howled like a wounded animal and the rain tapped against the windows like impatient fingers. The streets were nearly empty, save for the occasional car splashing through puddles, its headlights cutting through the darkness like fleeting ghosts. I was on my way to my new apartment, an old building on the outskirts of town. It was cheap, too cheap now that I think about it, and I'd heard rumors about its history, but I wasn't the superstitious type. Or at least, I didn't think I was. When I arrived, the lobby was eerily quiet, the kind of quiet that makes you feel like you're being watched, even though you know you're alone. The marble floor was cracked and covered in a thin layer of dust, as if no one had bothered to clean it in years. The air smelled damp and stale, like old books left in a basement. A single flickering fluorescent light buzzed overhead, casting long, wavering shadows across the walls. The elevator stood open, an ancient contraption with wrought iron gates and a manual sliding door. It looked like something out of a horror movie, but I shrugged it off. I pressed the button, stepped inside, and pulled the gate shut. The elevator groaned and creaked as it began its slow ascent to the fourth floor. I remember thinking how strange it was that such an old building even had an elevator, but I didn't have time to dwell on it. When the elevator finally stopped, I knew something was wrong. The doors opened, but I wasn't on the fourth floor. Instead, I found myself in a long, dimly lit hallway that I had never seen before. The walls were covered in peeling wallpaper, and the floor was littered with broken glass and debris. A single flickering bulb hung from the ceiling, casting an eerie yellowish glow. The air was thick with a strange, sweet smell, like rotting flowers, and I could hear the faint sound of dripping water somewhere in the distance. I pressed the button to close the elevator door, but nothing happened. The doors remained open, as if the elevator itself was urging me to step out. I hesitated, but curiosity got the better of me. Maybe this was some kind of maintenance level, or perhaps I had accidentally pressed the wrong button. I stepped into the hallway, my footsteps echoing unnaturally loud in the silence. The further I walked, the more I felt like I wasn't alone. The hallway seemed to stretch on forever, and the air grew heavier with every step. I could hear faint whispers, though I couldn't make out the words. They seemed to be coming from the walls themselves. I turned around, but there was no one there. Just the empty hallway stretching back into darkness. And then I heard it. Footsteps, soft at first, almost inaudible, but growing louder with every second. They were behind me, but when I turned, there was nothing. I started to walk faster, my heart pounding in my chest. The whispers grew louder, more urgent, and the footsteps kept pace with me. I broke into a run, my breath coming in short, panicked gasps. The hallway seemed to twist and turn, the walls closing in around me. I could feel someone chasing me, but I didn't dare look back. Finally, I reached a door. It was old and wooden, with a rusted metal handle. I grabbed it and turned, half expecting it to be locked, but it opened with a loud creak, revealing a small square room. The walls were bare, and the only light came from a single window overlooking the city. In the center of the room stood a table, and on the table was an old, leather-bound photo album. I don't know why, but I felt compelled to open it. The pages were yellowed with age, and the photos inside were faded and cracked. At first, they seemed ordinary, pictures of people smiling, laughing, living their lives. But as I flipped through the pages, the photos grew darker. People hanging from stair railings, lying on the floor with their eyes wide open, their faces frozen in expressions of pure terror. And then I saw it, a photo of me. It was taken tonight as I stepped into the elevator. My heart stopped. I threw the album on the floor and ran back to the hallway. But the elevator was gone. In its place was a gaping black void. I could hear the footsteps again, louder now, faster. They were coming from all directions, closing in on me. I turned around, and there he was, A man, or what was left of one. His face was twisted and melted, like wax left too close to a flame. His mouth stretched into a grotesque smile, splitting his face in two. He reached out a hand, his fingers cold and bony, and grabbed my wrist. I tried to scream, but no sound came out. He pulled me toward the void, and I felt myself falling. When I woke up, I was in my bed. The sun was shining through the window, and the birds were chirping outside. For a moment, I thought it had all been a nightmare. But then I saw it. A bruise on my wrist, in the shape of a handprint. And on the table in the living room, the photo album lay open, the last page showing a picture of me in that room, my face frozen in terror. The elevator creaked. I turned around, and there it was again, open and waiting. But this time I wouldn't step inside.